The night my sister told me to leave the house I bought, I froze in the hallway, my hand still on the suitcase I'd dropped moments before. I'd just rolled in after another brutal day in Manhattan, tired to my bones, when I saw her pacing nervously in the dim living room, her smile too tight, too forced. "We need to talk." Right then I thought I must have misheard her. Before I knew it, she was talking about fresh starts and how her youngest, Zach, needed a place of his own, a chance she swore he deserved after everything he'd been through. "Family takes care of one another," she said. And then she looked at me as if she expected sympathy and uttered words that cut deeper than anything before. "You should go back to your apartment in New York full-time so he can move in here." My breath caught. "But I paid the down payment," I said, voice trembling. "The mortgage is in my name. I signed every document." She didn't blink. "You're hardly ever here, Emma," she said, brushing off my point like a speck of dust. "You've got your big career in the city. This is his chance. Don't be selfish." Selfish. Just that word, thrown at me like an insult I didn't deserve, hit me so hard I could almost hear it echo. At that moment, I noticed something chilling. Several boxes, my things, were already stacked by the door. It wasn't a conversation. It was a decision that had been made long before I walked in. She held out her hand for my keys like she was asking for spare change. Casually, as if it were no big deal, she added they were planning a housewarming soon to celebrate finally getting the home they always dreamed of. I didn't go. I saw the photos online instead. There they were, my mom and Zach grinning in my kitchen, grilling in my backyard. Captions about our dream home after years of hard work. And the comments. Oh, the comments, asking if I had helped at all. My mother replied, "Not really." She was never around. "So tell me, what would you do if your own mother kicked you out of a house you paid for, then told everyone you never helped?" Please like this video and listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. If you've ever felt unappreciated or erased by someone you loved, drop a heart emoji in the comments right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. My name is Emma Carter, and that night was the beginning of the hardest chapter of my life, the one where I finally started seeing how long this pattern had been going on. Growing up in a quiet New Jersey suburb, I was always in the background, not because I wanted to be, but because my brother Zach was the golden child. From his first football touchdown to every milestone after, my mom cheered like the world depended on it. And me? I was the kid picking up cups in the bleachers, brushing off comments like, "Good job, honey," as if they were medals, even though they never felt like enough. My grandparents on my dad's side were the only ones who really saw me. Grandma taught me to think 3 moves ahead. Grandpa made me believe that numbers don't care who you are, they only care if you work for them. But I had no idea just how far I'd have to go to see that I was worth seeing. In the next part, I'll tell you how my life started to change when I finally left home, and how something I built quietly behind everyone's back gave me a future no one thought I could have. Back then, I didn't have the words for it. I just knew that if my brother sneezed, someone brought him tissues with applause. If I brought home an award, I got a distracted nod, and maybe a request to take out the trash. Zach was everything to my mother, her miracle, her redemption story, the boy who was going to lift us all up with his endless promise. When he graduated high school, my parents gave him a shiny used sports car they couldn't afford. My mom stood in the driveway, tears in her eyes, like she'd just watched a wedding. When I made the honor roll that same year, my mom said, "That's great, Emma. Can you help me clear out the garage later? Zach's equipment is taking over." Of course I helped. I always did. At school, I joined the math team and the business club. I stayed late, helping tally fundraiser totals while other kids took selfies in the parking lot. But honestly, I didn't mind. Because in a world where applause was always saved for Zach, numbers didn't play favorites. They didn't care that my mom wore his jersey like a second skin. Numbers just wanted consistency, attention, effort. I was good at all 3. My grandparents noticed that too. Grandma used to beat me at chess while whispering lessons between moves. "You've got to think ahead, baby. Especially when the world wants to keep you small." Grandpa slid savings advice across the kitchen table like secret treasure maps. Interest is your friend if you respect it, he'd say, tapping his coffee mug for emphasis. Let your money grow before anyone tries to gild it out of you. I didn't know it then, but those evenings at their tiny kitchen table were preparing me for a future where I'd need every ounce of that wisdom. After Zach flamed out of college, twice, he came home with a new dream, opening a bar near his old campus. Cue the fireworks. This is it, my mom shouted, like he'd discovered fire. This is his big break. We have to help him. Helping meant draining nearly all their savings, maxing credit cards, and taking out a line of credit against the house. My dad looked sick signing the papers, but he signed anyway. Saying no to my mom wasn't part of his vocabulary. I watched the ink dry from across the room and whispered to myself, how many late nights at a coffee shop would it take me to earn back what they just gave him with one pen stroke? The answer? More than I could count. The bar lasted 11 months. He drank more than he worked. His friends bailed. Rent piled up. And just like that, the dream went up in smoke. Did she blame him? Of course not. She blamed the economy. She blamed the location. She blamed the staff. Anyone but her golden boy. Have you ever watched someone you love get handed everything while you had to fight for scraps? Drop a broken heart if you know that feeling, and tag someone who needs to hear this kind of real talk. With the money gone, everything changed. No more birthday trips. No more small vacations. Repairs were ignored unless the ceiling was actually leaking. My parents started working extra shifts and I doubled mine. Coffee shop mornings. Tutoring nights. Dishes, groceries, cleaning, all mine. Zach was too stressed to help. And when I brought home a regional math trophy, my mom looked up from a pile of bills just long enough to say, "That's nice. Hey, could you clean the garage again? Zach needs to store some bar stuff." I stood out there, surrounded by stacks of promotional pint glasses and broken neon signs, and wondered, how can you love someone so much you set your whole life on fire for them, while ignoring the child right in front of you trying to keep the house from burning down? The only thing keeping me sane was my escape plan. Late nights, scholarship essays, application deadlines. While my mom scrolled through Zach's next big idea, I was carving out my way to freedom. And then, I got in. NYU. Full scholarship. Finance track. Manhattan. I opened that letter with shaking hands and cried for the first time in years, because I saw my way out. When I told my mom, her face didn't light up. She didn't cheer or cry, or ask me what I wanted to do next. She just said, "New York is so far. Who's going to help us if you're gone?" And I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Maybe this time, Zach can help you." Leaving home should have been a fresh start, but I had no idea the real betrayal hadn't even started yet. In part 3, I'll tell you how New York changed everything and how I found out just how far my mom would go to erase me from the story. New York felt like stepping into another universe. At NYU, nobody knew or cared that my brother was a washed-up small-town football star. Nobody looked at me like I was just someone's backup plan. I was just Emma Carter. Sharp, quiet, focused. Finally, I was in a place where the work actually mattered. I threw myself into my finance classes. I interned at a small investment firm sophomore year. Nothing fancy, just a corner desk, 2 monitors, and a boss who never smiled unless you beat a deadline by a day. But I loved it. I wasn't anyone's sidekick anymore. I wasn't the spare kid. I was becoming someone. Meanwhile, back home, Zach's latest big idea was an e-commerce app that looked like it was built in 2004. He pitched it like he was on Shark Tank, throwing around buzzwords like disruption and scale. I remember thinking, he doesn't even know what these words mean. He just knows they impress Mom. And impress her, they did. She bragged like he was Steve Jobs reincarnated. He's talking to investors, she'd whisper like it was a holy secret. He's gonna change the game. She conveniently didn't mention that she'd cashed out more of their retirement funds and taken out new credit just to fund this app, and when I asked about the mountain of debt they were still dragging around from the failed bar, "Debt is normal, Emma. You have to spend money to make money." My stomach sank, because I knew she wasn't quoting wisdom, she was quoting desperation. The year I graduated college, the bottom dropped out again. My grandparents, Evelyn and Henry, passed away, one after the other. We knew it was coming, but that didn't soften the blow. They were the only people who ever really saw me. The ones who taught me to think ahead, to plan, to be bold even when everyone wanted me quiet. After the funeral, the lawyer pulled me aside. They had left behind a savings and investment account, quietly built over the years, under my name. Almost $100,000. With it was a letter in Grandpa's neat handwriting. Use this to build something that belongs to you, not to rescue people who refuse to save themselves. I cried in my dorm room that night, not just from grief, but from validation. Even after death, they had made sure I was seen, protected. After graduating with honors, I took a full-time job at my internship firm. Modest salary, but solid. The kind of job people build lives on. I got a one-bedroom in Brooklyn, nothing fancy, and I started building. 401k, Roth IRA, index funds, emergency savings. Everything my grandparents taught me, I did. While Zach was still chasing buzzwords, I was building actual wealth. And I didn't just save, I grew their gift. Back home, Zach's app fell apart just like the bar. He ran out of investors, and my mom ran out of excuses. But instead of facing reality, she doubled down. More loans. More sacrifices. My dad got quieter, grayer, smaller. I'd visit and find late notices on the counter, credit card bills shoved under magazines, tension hanging in the air like smoke. One Sunday afternoon, after a very quiet lunch, my dad sat across from me and finally said, "Your mother believes in him so much, she's willing to bet the whole house on it." I blinked. Wait, like literally? He nodded, eyes glassy. We've used almost everything we had. There's not much left. Have you ever watched someone gamble everything for someone who never lifts a finger? Let me know with a game die emoji in the comments, and tell me if it was worth it. That night I drove back to Brooklyn, hands clenched on the wheel, mind spinning with numbers. My parents were drowning, and I was the only one with a lifeboat. I didn't want to, but I couldn't just watch them lose everything. Not my dad. Not the man who finally saw the storm coming, but didn't know how to swim out. So I did what I always did. I planned. I crunched the numbers.
Talked to realtors.
Found a modest bungalow 2 towns over, safe, affordable, just enough space. I could cover the down payment and mortgage using part of my savings and Grandpa's gift. It would be in my name, no co-signers, no confusion. Just a roof they couldn't lose to Zach's next meltdown. We met at a diner. I laid it all out. "You're drowning," I said. "The bank's not bluffing. The house isn't salvageable. But I found a new one, something manageable, safe. I'll buy it. You can live there." My mom's eyes filled with tears. My dad whispered, "You do that?" I nodded.
Yes.
But this time, we do it my way. No more fantasy loans. No more business pitches. This isn't a rescue mission. It's a retirement plan. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand, emotional for the first time in years. "You're an angel, Emma. You're saving us." For once, I thought she actually meant it. I bought them that house. I gave them peace. But what they did next, that was the moment I realized they hadn't changed at all. In part 4, the betrayal gets real. The bungalow was peaceful. It wasn't glamorous, but it was safe. A cozy porch, open living space, and just enough yard for Mom to finally plant the flowers she'd always talked about. A place with good bones, no history of chaos, just potential for quiet. I handed them the keys on move-in day and said, "This is your fresh start. Please don't waste it." My dad hugged me like he was holding on to solid ground for the first time in years. My mom? She was already talking about paint colors and where to put the couch. And Zach? He showed up late, holding one box and a bunch of opinions. "Nice place," he said, glancing around like he was the buyer. "Kinda small, but if you upgrade the kitchen, maybe add a deck, it could be something." I stayed quiet, but my hands tightened around my keys. Then came the line. "So, where am I supposed to crash when I'm in between things? You've got your apartment in the city, and this is technically still family property, right?"
My mom chimed in way too fast.
It would be good for him to have a stable place while he gets back on his feet. I looked at her, steady. This house is in my name. I bought it. I pay the mortgage. You and Dad live here. That's it. She smiled tightly. Of course. Of course. But I heard her whisper to Zach as she walked away, "Don't worry, we'll figure something out." I wanted to believe she meant well, that old habits die hard, that she'd learned to respect boundaries. But then came the housewarming. She brought it up one evening with fake cheerfulness. "We're thinking about having a few people over, just some family, some of Zach's friends. A little housewarming to celebrate finally getting our dream home."
Our dream home.
I didn't argue. I just said, "Sure. Let me know the date." Weeks passed. No invite. Every time I asked, she said, "Still working on the guest list," or, "You're so busy lately, honey."
Don't worry about it.
I should have known. Then one night, after a brutal client meeting, I was curled up on my couch scrolling Instagram when I saw it. Zach's post. There he was, standing in my kitchen, beer in hand, grinning like a politician on election night. The caption read, "So grateful to finally move my parents into our dream home after years of hard work and sacrifice. Couldn't have done it without persistence and faith." I sat up so fast my blanket hit the floor. More photos followed, string lights in the backyard, people laughing around a grill, my mom and Zach holding a "home sweet home" sign like they had signed the mortgage. Then the comments. "You're such a good son. You really stepped up for your parents, man. Did your sister help at all? Thought she was doing well in the city." And then the reply. From my mom's account. "Not really. She's never around. Always busy with her own life. This was mostly on us and Zach." I stared at the screen. That knot in my chest turned to ice. It wasn't just a party I wasn't invited to. It was a story being told without me in it. Have you ever felt erased? Like someone rewrote the truth to make themselves the hero? Drop a ice cube in the comments if you've been there, and tag someone who needs to hear this next part. I didn't think. I just grabbed my keys, my bag, and drove. By the time I got to their street, the party was in full swing. Cars lined the road. Music drifted over the fence. I parked down the block, heart pounding, and walked straight through the side gate. Nobody noticed me at first. Too busy clinking glasses and snapping pictures for their curated little version of reality. I spotted Zach at the grill, holding court like he was king of something he built. My mom stood near the patio, beaming. "So proud we finally bought this place," she was saying. "After everything we've been through. All the sacrifices, it was worth it. This is the home we always dreamed of." Someone asked, "Did your daughter help? She's in finance, right?" My mom gave a little laugh that made my stomach turn. "You know how it is. She's got her Wall Street life. She never really helped. Zach's the one who stepped up." I didn't even feel myself move. 1 second, I was standing near the back. The next, I was right in the center of the group. "Funny," I said, my voice loud but calm, "because I'm pretty sure I'm the one who wired 6 figures to make this house happen." The music died. Everyone turned. My mom's face drained of color. "Emma," she said like I'd just crashed someone else's party. "What are you doing here?" I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. "Just visiting the house I paid for. Watching the party I wasn't invited to. Listening to you tell everyone I never helped." Zach walked over, fake smile cracking. "Come on, Emma. Don't do this. It's just a celebration." I held up the paper. "You know what's weird, Zach? Throwing a housewarming party for a house you don't own." I opened the envelope, holding out the deed for anyone curious. "This? My name. No one else's." My mom whispered something I couldn't hear. My dad stayed by the door, eyes low, not even pretending to defend them anymore. "This party's over," I said clearly. "Everyone who isn't on the mortgage? You need to leave.
Now."
They thought they could erase me, pretend I didn't matter. But I had receipts, and I was done being quiet. In part 5, the aftermath hits hard. You won't believe what I did next. After I kicked everyone out of the party, the backyard went silent. Plates still half full. Drinks abandoned. String lights glowing over a celebration that had turned into a crime scene of lies. My mom stood frozen, her mouth working like she couldn't decide whether to cry or scream. "You're going to regret this," she finally hissed. "You're turning your back on your own family." I took a breath, calm, grounded in a way I'd never been in front of her before. "No," I said. "I'm turning my back on being used. There's a difference." I shut off the music, blew out the candles, collected every piece of me they thought they could erase. The next morning, I came back with a folder full of facts. They were sitting in the kitchen like the ghosts of their own decisions. Zach was gone, of course. Stormed off during cleanup, probably nursing his bruised ego. I sat across from them and placed everything on the table. The deed, the mortgage, the foreclosure letters from the old house, a breakdown of their debts. My dad just stared. My mom tried to protest, but I cut in. "You lied to everyone. Said I never helped. After I bought you a house to keep you from going under." She blinked fast. I was embarrassed. "We don't need people knowing our business." What was I supposed to say? That our daughter had to rescue us. "You didn't have to lie," I said. "You didn't have to erase me." My dad's voice, quiet and hoarse, broke the silence. "What happens now?" I looked them in the eyes. "I'm selling this house." My mom's head snapped up like I'd struck her. "You can't do that. We have nowhere to go." "I'm giving you 90 days, I said. "I'll even cover your first month's rent and security deposit. But after that, you're adults. You figure it out." She launched into a spiral of blame. Said I was heartless, ungrateful. That money had changed me. But her words? They didn't stick anymore. I'd spent my whole life begging for scraps of acknowledgement. That morning, I walked away from that table knowing I never needed it again. My dad nodded slowly.
"We did this," he said.
"We made these choices. You warned us." Zach tried storming back in a week later, furious, loud, demanding. "You can't take this from Mom and Dad," he shouted. I didn't flinch. "I'm not taking what they never owned. And you don't get to cash in on my hard work just because you've finally run out of people to bleed dry." That shut him up.
He left.
I haven't seen him since. Word got around. People who'd been at the party told their versions. A few called to say they were proud of me. Others just quietly unfriended my mom. Zach went silent online. When he finally came back, his posts weren't about startups anymore. Now they were about minimum wage jobs, late-night shifts, humble beginnings. For the first time in his life, he looked like just another guy surviving. The old house?
Foreclosed.
The bank finally stopped warning and started taking. My parents moved into a small, crumbling two-bedroom apartment near the highway. Thin walls. Overflowing dumpsters. Mom complained about everything. The noise, the lack of space for her plants, the cheap lighting. She never once complained about the decisions that got her there.
Me?
I sold the bungalow. After fees and taxes, I invested the rest. Boosted my retirement savings. Built my own safety net. I started therapy too because even when it's justified, cutting ties hurts. There were nights I cried not because I missed them but because I was finally grieving the idea of a family I never really had. Mom left voicemails for a while. Emails swinging between guilt trips and fake apologies. "We're family," she'd say. "Don't you think you went too far?" I never replied. But one message from my dad, I kept. It said, "I'm sorry I didn't protect you like I should have. You deserved better. I hope you build the life your grandparents always believed you could." That message lives in my nightstand. I read it when the doubt creeps in. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Here's what I've learned. You do not owe your family your future just because they gave you a name. Love without respect isn't love. It's manipulation wrapped in tradition. And being the good kid doesn't mean you have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Sometimes the bravest, most loving thing you can do is walk away and build something better from scratch. My grandparents were right all along. You can't save people who refuse to save themselves, but you can choose to save yourself.